These conversations are the place where evolution takes place. I am that one that you know as Jesus, and the book that we wrote through this being covers many of these questions, but we will answer your very, very good question, because this is something that many, many beings have been indoctrinated into. The texts of that book that you know of as the Bible was compiled with a religious, political, financial agenda behind it. It was not the original mixture of texts that were created to impart knowledge. These texts were, over time, compiled by many, many beings that had a very, very negative political agenda, that wanted to control, that wanted to manipulate, and that wanted to cause fear in the hearts and minds of the beings that were listening at first, because in those days most beings did not read. They were listening to the preachers and the teachers and the rabbis imparting this information. And you must remember that many of the teachers and elders and leaders of religion at that time were in it for what they could get, and they would use their political and religious powers to take money and peddle influence in those days. Now, of course, that was a very, very long time ago, but when I was incarnated on the physical plane, this was one of the things that upset me the most, was the terror and the fear that was put into the ordinary person's heart and mind by the preaching of scriptures that were unloving and violent. And that was my job on the ground in that time and place, and that is why they killed me. They killed me because I was a revolutionary. They killed me because I was preaching love, and I was teaching self-empowerment, and I was teaching the real laws of creation. But what you do not have a representation of in your society, as far as my life goes, is what was going on behind the scenes. I was teaching and preaching in a patriarchal and violent society that was occupied and in a very, very difficult time. And my ministry was not masculine focused. It was not patriarchal. I was, and am still, what you would call a feminist, seeking for the equal respect and rights of women and men together. I taught women in private. I did many, many things out of public view because it was not going to be safe for those beings to be seen studying with me. So it was done at night, it was done in private, and it was done out of the earshot of anybody that was going to use it against those beings. So you have a very, very one-sided view of my life. You have a very, very mistaken idea of what I was, and that book, the Bible, does not represent the truth of who I was and who I am. And that was why this book was scribed through this being, so that these questions could be answered. I was married and kept my wife and children out of the public eye, which you could do in those days. You cannot do it now, of course, with your mass media and paparazzi. I'm very happy there were no paparazzi in those days. But that was done intentionally because I was preaching revolution as I am now. I am preaching love as a revolution now, and I was doing the same then, and I was trying to get those beings in that time and place to understand the laws of creation so that they could take back the control of their lives and their own creative power and influence. But it was a dangerous job, and I knew very early on in my ministry that I was not going to be alive for long. But in the evolutionary journey that I was taking, that was okay. I already had mastered the physical material world by the time my enlightenment came, and I was able to manufacture a new body, and that is what the resurrection was. It was not the crucified body being returned to life. It was a new body. I created a new body.